Well, if that's true, so first I don't know whether it's true or not, but all these rumors have some validities at a certain extent. Now, this is a move. It's interesting because by doing so, he will obtain a Politburo seat. Chongqing is a major city. Yeah. So that party secretary will probably automatically obtain that seat. So that's good news for him. But bad news for him, he will not a contender for vice premiership. Right. So that's right. But of course, Bo Xilai will never become premier. The highest he can go is vice premiership. Why? Because he has so many enemies. He could not get along well, in Dalian when he was mayor. He could not get along well with the party secretary. When he became governor, he could not get along with party secretary. Party secretary actually made fun of him, saying that what the Dalian need is not the grasses, because grasses will consume waters. Dalian, lack of water. So you really want to for environment, you should plant trees. But planting trees take 10 years. He cannot wait for 10 years. Grasses take a few months. So this is his achievement project. This is direct criticism from his colleague, party secretary. Then when in the Minister of Commerce, he could not get along well with Hu Yi. I think some people wanted to block him very strongly. But on the other hand, so it's not necessarily a bad move for him. I think Bo Xilai will never become party secretary, like Hu Jintao's successor, will never become premier, but he will be very, very important if he ties with someone else, because he is a very powerful force. He was very bold, very outspoken, very charming with the media, but at the same time, he's notorious on many different things. Particularly, his hands have blood during the Cultural Revolution. He only said that I was arrested during the Cultural Revolution for a few years, but he never said why he was arrested. He killed people violently, that time. So many different things. Now, with the first question about the two people New York Times talk about, certainly these are two front runners. But I will really think these five, they're almost equal. If we want to think out, I would think about the two leads, because Xi Jinping has several problems. First, if you look at the election, this is the Party Secretary of Shanghai, two things. First of all, Princeling it's not good name. It helps you early on, but when you reach a very high level, it becomes liability. Now, for Xi Jinping's case, 10 years ago during the Central Committee election, we don't know the scores of the 4 members, but the alternate members all rank by how many votes you receive. There are altogether 151 alternates. Who was the bottom? Xi Jinping. He received the lowest the vote. That tells you a lot, And secondly, that he worked in Shanghai too briefly. Usually, there's a norm, not regulation, but a norm. If you want to get promoted to another place, you should stay in that place, first place, for 2 years. But he was transferred to Shanghai March, only 7 months. That looks bad for him. And also, there's some evidence that he really worked very aggressively. I don't know whether you noticed or not. His wife is a popular singer, Peng Liyuan. She received several interviews, talk about how the couple love each other. From first day they met.
Terrible. That is scandalous.
Although they separated for many years, but they're deeply in love. Then if you look at China's web blog, you can see all the nasty jokes about them. So he has a lot of hurdles. But on the other hand, he is quite capable. He is market friendly. He has a lot of foreign friends, right? Many people like him. So on the other hand, you look at Princeling, that faction, they really have shortage of contenders. So he could be a powerful person. But I don't think he is the front runner for Hu Jintao. So New York Times, Zhou Kang is a good friend of mine. He really should call me. And where he writes this. Several things. Actually, Zhou Kang and I traveled to Wenzhou for 3 days. Now, the thing is, remember, 5 years ago when Chinese journalist was arrested, you probably helped to his release. How could it be possible that person released the secret information about Jiang Zemin's resignment, and now all of a sudden someone leaked a story for Zhou Kang again? it's deliberate? For what purpose? So I have a lot of doubts. Some people, of course, will get right, but in general, that version is highly problematic. Why? Because this time they will use the election method. They will, for example, if they choose 200 Central Committee members, they will put 250 candidates. 30 of them will be eliminated. So some of the people put under the list could be very much, even put for the Politburo and Standing Committee could be eliminated. So it's beyond their control. How could you be so sure, so definitive? So I think by saying these are the final list is really poor understanding or sophomoric understanding of the complexity of Chinese politics. And in many ways, it's not responsible. Right.
I'll be sure to email Joe what you said about it.
Sure, that's fine. We're very close friends, he is a very good reporter in many ways, And at that time, I met him when he was a correspondent for Wall Street Journal. Yeah. Now, question about foreign policy, about the fifth generation.
Especially their view towards
the United States.
Of the five.
Well, it's very interesting. You look at these 5 leaders. Different countries have different bits on these leaders. Japanese love Li Keqiang. Li Keqiang now is in northeastern China. And Li Keqiang said numerous times, the solution for the so-called northeastern rejuvenation will be that the Northeast Free Economic Zone. And he was frequently interviewed by Japanese media. Japanese politicians love him. I think in the United States, we no longer like Wang Jisan because he is not so environmentally friendly. Some of his recent remarks is really very anti-environment in many ways. Look at the 3 million automobiles in Beijing. This is itself is a problem. But we probably like Xi Jinping and Li Yuantao. Both of them have Western styles and very pro-West, and some of their children probably study in the United States or UK or somewhere else. We know that. But in my view, these people actually have different leadership style. You probably met of them. I personally like Li Yuantao more. But Li Yuantao has 3 weaknesses. First, he is the only alternate member, not a full member. Secondly, he never has had inland experience. And thirdly, this guy is so tough on anti-corruption. This is a good thing for the public, but also could be a dangerous thing in the eyes of his colleagues. Right. So this is, I think, but still most of the Western companies really look at Li Yuantao very closely. Right. Now, in terms of their foreign policy, I think these people, compared with Hu Jintao generation, are more open-minded, are more influenced by Western ideas. In my article, I describe Li Keqiang during his school years. He really very eager to learn Western ideas. So he is very much similar to some of the dissidents in the United States, in the similar ideas, learn about Western methodology, values, and ideas. Now, but on the other hand, I think in the future, Chinese leaders will become increasingly nationalistic because they don't want you to give them lessons. They don't want to hear you talk about the Darfur, this is their view. Maybe this generation is still okay, fifth generation is still okay, because they want to change China's poor image. They know very well China's poor international image, including Darfur, Burma, or other things. It's really liability for China. So they desperately want to change. And so they have some incentive to meet international norms and standards. But at the same time, they know that China is already a major player in the international arena. Their nationalistic sentiment will be equally strong for them when they talk with the foreigners. So particularly economic areas, I don't think they will be extreme one way or the other, because China desperately needs for foreign trade, international economic globalization. But at the same time, the so-called new left, this kind of thinking that China really made a mistake in terms of foreign currencies, in terms of foreign reserve, hooked to the US dollars, all these kind of things, they will be, come out. Some of the people, like governor of a People's Bank, Zhou Xiaochuan, will be an interesting case. There are 2 different rumors. One said he will become vice premier or state councillor. The other said he will be completely out, will move to CPPCC, become a figurehead. So both actually has the really valid argument. So if that case, you can see China will even further leave to the left, more nationalistic. They will put emphasis on domestic demand. Maybe this is not bad for US, right? But in some areas, they will be more accommodating. They will talk about human rights. They will listen to that. But at the same time, they will be sometimes very angry about some criticism. And this particularly at the moment, they are very angry about Dalai Lama's visit. Actually, today I had a meeting with Dalai Lama this morning, had a 2-hour meeting. Right? I also mentioned that to him, that the timing is interesting, although it's a coincidence. We did not plan, because China never told us that the Party Congress will be held in October, mid-October. We thought it would be November. But China interpreted that way, that Dalai Lama deliberately came that moment, this anti-China forces, etc. So these leaders, we should put in perspective, even those liberal leaders, in these kind of circumstances, they will be very nationalistic.